Kentucky Fried Chicken. Banzai! Banzai! Banzai!
The fast food business in Japan has expanded 600% in the last 10 years and is now overtaking the automobile industry. The Japanese spend $65 billion a year on dining out. Naturally, everyone wants a piece of the action. Question: can a gentleman from Kentucky make it in the land of the rising sun? Tonight on Enterprise, the Colonel comes to Japan.
I'm Eric Sevareid. On Enterprise this week, we will look at Japan in a different way, as a business opportunity instead of a threat. Though Japan is the second largest consumer market in the world, it seems terribly alien to most American business people, and that's borne out by the record. Very few of our businesses succeed in Japan, despite the fact that Japanese consumers are generally well disposed to American products. Why the high failure rate? Because for an American company to flourish in Japan, it must adapt to the Japanese way of business, a unique approach to commerce which combines the most modern technology with centuries-old traditions. It's not an easy mix to master. This week, we will watch the quintessential American company, Kentucky Fried Chicken, take on Japan in a drama that pits aggressive American marketing against one of the most protected economies in the world.
Kentucky Fried Chicken appears to have succeeded in penetrating Japanese defenses. 11 years ago, the company opened its first store in Japan. Today, there are 324 Japanese stores, 125 owned by the company and 199 owned by franchisees. The Colonel's incarnation in Japan is Loy Weston, 51, chairman of Kentucky Fried Chicken Japan. In 1970, Loy was hired away from IBM and sent to Japan to open the first store on a trial basis. Today, under his leadership, the company does gross sales of $200 million a year. Loy has been a great success here, possibly because he has been clever enough to delegate real authority to his Japanese staff and quick to tune in to the Japanese way of doing things. In fact, the key to Kentucky Fried Chicken's success in Japan may well be adaptation, with Loy Weston setting the example.
Well, as you know, in Japan, you have a hire-for-life idea. The employee, when he joins the company, assumes that he will stay that company his entire working career. Now, that does a lot for the employee's morale, confidence in doing his job, and it also allows the company to invest in them. Our training programs here are quite extensive because we know that that employee is going to be with us his whole business career, so we can afford to invest in him. We can afford to train well. If you ask a guy who works for Kentucky Fried Chicken, who does he work for? He won't say, I work for Kentucky Fried Chicken Japan. He'll say, I belong to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Chris! 営業基本方針。営業基本方針。ケンタッキーフライドチキンはフードサービスビジネスである。我々の自覚と目標は一つ。
Every morning, Kentucky Fried Chicken employees all over Japan repeat this same pledge before business begins. This BOT, Basic Operation Training, takes 9 days and is followed by 4 days of OJT, on-the-job training.
The best is yet to come. KFC, we do QSC right. The best is yet to come. ベストの状態はまだ来ていないということです。KFC, we do QSC right. ケンタッキーフライドチキンは我々は QSC を正しくやろうということです。
いらっしゃいませ。いらっしゃいませ。
After lecture, the trainees work on their behind-the-counter technique. Their trainer, Miss Ueno, is a stickler for detail. She claims to be able to say, "May I help you?" with 100 subtly different shadings of intonation. She spends half her week traveling around to stores owned by franchisees and training their employees on the job.
ランチとバニラシェイクはない。
はい、ランチのバニラシェイクでございますね。お間ありがとうございます。恐れ入ります。お会計は先にさせていただきますが。
はい、ちょっと待っていただけますか。こちらの接客者がご注文を受けて、それから作る人は別にいるわけですね。お客様により早く商品を提供するためには、ここでまずひとまずパックをする人に注文を流さなくてはいけませんね。はい、じゃあ申し訳ございません。もう一度お願いいたします。
ランチとバニラシェイクはない。
ランチとバニラシェイクでございますね。はい、ランチとバニラシェイクはお食べになります。はい。
まだ慣れてらっしゃらないからしょうがないですけれども。
これスイートコーン、あとアイスクリームとアイスは何なんですか？バニラのやつ。バニラアイス。
ちょっと待っていただけますか。アイスクリームは何にするんですか。彼からパックをする人から言われたんじゃもう遅いわけ。
はい、お客様どうもお待たせしました。ありがとうございました。
はい、ちょっと待ってください。はい、ちょっと失礼いたしますね。今彼が言ったの、お客様お待たせしました。はい、ここはどこがいけませんでした。先ほどお勉強しましたね。どこが悪かったと思いますか。丸山さん、どうでしょう。
商品を手渡す際には両手で品物を。
お客様大変お待たせいたしました。ありがとうございました。
はい。さっきの注意は守られたと思いますが、もう一ついけないところどこだと思いますか、工藤さん。
And we are talking about the 2-month period sales for those stores.
Loy Weston's right hand and the executive vice president of the company is Shin Okawara. When Loy first arrived in Japan in 1970, Shin was working for a printing and paper company. Sensing an opportunity to do big business making the cardboard boxes for Kentucky Fried Chicken, he went to see Loy on his own initiative. Loy was so impressed with the young man, 27 at the time, that he persuaded him to leave the paper company and to join Kentucky Fried Chicken. Today, Loy treats Shin as a peer and friend, even sharing an office with him.
The world
And that budget was fixed according to their books.
Yeah, but the wind blows, it also changes direction. And this is new information?
Yeah, but they have to consolidate it to the corporate book.
Yeah, well, normally in Japan, a guy doesn't really start making his first decision until he's about 40. Shin, at 38 now, is the chief operating officer of this company. He's hired all of the employees. He has tremendous leadership ability. They'll follow him down the barrel of a cannon. He's made all the kinds of adjustments that had to be made in order to make Kentucky Fried Chicken a success.
In other words, Loy asked me to jump 10 or 15 years. Instead of receiving orders, he asked me to decide, to make some decisions.
One of Shin's many responsibilities is choosing locations for new stores. Because overhead is so high, sites are selected painstakingly. To qualify for consideration, a district must have at least 50,000 people using its train station per day. The number of people 15 minutes away by bus and 15 minutes walking distance away is then computed, and passers-by per hour are multiplied by store frontage to produce something called the location factor. The variables are then plugged into a formula which tries to predict the percentage of fast food business in the district the store can hope to do each month. This new store is in Kameari, a merchant district in the northeast of Tokyo. It will cost the company $400,000 to complete and equip the store and $2,800 a month to rent the space. These costs are high, but even in this lower middle-class neighborhood, sales are expected to reach $85,000 a month.
First three of our stores are all typical American prototype, which is freestanding. In other words, in America, so lots of space, so we just build a modular type prototype store, just boom, like that. And three of our first stores are like that, exactly same as United States. It's like we bring in a full-size Cadillac and try to drive around narrow street of Tokyo, you see. That's why it didn't work.
And so what we had to do is design a store appropriate for Japan. Every time we'd find a little space, we'd design a way to fit our store in. We'd shrink the equipment up. We redesigned the equipment. We made it taller instead of longer.
Because of this adaptation, these stores are only 1/3 the size of the American prototype, but do twice the business, $620,000 a year. The product is identical. The Kentucky Fried Chicken you eat in Tokyo is the same as you get in Louisville. But the menu has been adapted in other ways. The Japanese stores also serve smoked chicken sold by weight, yogurt, and fish and chips.
People would like to have some sort of combination of varieties together with fried chicken. However, in the beginning, people thought it's crazy because if we start serving fish, people might think that our chicken tastes fishy.
Japanese aren't thrilled about mashed potatoes and gravy, which is common in U.S. and Australia and so on. So we switched to French fries. That was a no-brainer. It took us about 5 minutes to figure that one out. And they took a spoonful of the coleslaw and they said it's too sweet. Another no-brainer. We cut the sugar in half.
Marketing and advertising also had to be adapted. Display cases like these are to be found in front of every restaurant. The Japanese insist on knowing exactly what they're getting when they order something from a menu. The display samples are made of wax and silicone, the molds cast from actual pieces of food. At this replica factory in Tokyo, each floor is devoted to a different kind of dish: Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and Western. The selection is vast, ranging from sushi and shark fin soup to spaghetti meatballs and steak tournedo. And if they don't happen to have a dish you want to serve at your restaurant, you just bring in the real thing and they'll cast the mold for you. A 13-piece set of Kentucky Fried Chicken wholesales to the stores for $85. But the company's big innovation in display advertising are these life-size statues of the Colonel, Weston's brainchild.
Well, when I was stumbling around the warehouse in Kentucky Fried Chicken back in Louisville, gathering up the equipment to come to Japan, I saw this dusty statue of Colonel Sanders back in the corner. I had no idea what it was for, and nobody else seemed to know either. But I bought it and brought it to Japan, and my idea was that the streets are crowded here, and we could put one of these out in front of every chicken store. It would prove that it was the authentic Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Adapting Kentucky Fried Chicken advertising to the Japanese consumer is another of Shin's major responsibilities. This year, the company will spend $5 million on television commercials alone. The themes Shin has chosen for the TV campaign are authenticity, the Americanness of the product, and, believe it or not, its aristocratic elegance.
ケンタッキーフライドチキンの美味しさは真似ができない。これは伝説ではなく、今日あなたに確かめていただける事実なのです。若鶏に11種の特製スパイスを効かせ圧力釜で揚げる。カーネル・サンダースが発明したこの美味しさを私たちは今伝説よりも事実であなたに。
The account is handled by another joint venture in Japan, McCann Erickson Hakuhodo. By the time the account executive is ready to make a presentation to Loy, Shin has been working with him for months.
As a sequence or the second sequence in our theme advertising, gentlemen, this is what we call rye bread version. And it starts with a camera over the fireplace, reminding of a old Kentucky home, so to speak. And comes with a very close shot on our rye bread, which happened to be baked by Colonel Sanders when he was a young boy. And switches into the current situation of the pressure cooker, which is an inherited asset of a Kentucky Fried Chicken in Japan, then cuts to the actual product. And we will show a variety of Americans dressed in a very casual wares.
Fujita-san, I'm getting a little bit uncomfortable here. Seems to me that you're telling me that the Japanese people are going to be able to believe that this 7-year-old guy made bread, and then somehow he bridges the connection to making chicken, and it's really good chicken because he made bread.
わずか7歳の時に彼が作った1個のライ麦パン。母親の驚き。カーネル・サンダースのその日の喜びは50年後ケンタッキーフライドチキンへとつながった。カーネルレシピと呼ばれる独特の調理法は世界中に笑顔を広げ、人々は真似のできない美味しさと称えた。いいものをいい味をケンタッキーフライドチキン。
I'm still a little unhappy, Fujita-san. I mean, where's the customer benefit? The commercial they used last year in the U.S. is so nice to feel so good about a meal. That's telling the customer that Kentucky Fried Chicken is not junk food, and Kentucky Fried Chicken is not junk food, and that's a customer benefit. But I don't see where this is doing anything, is a selling proposition for the customer.
Yeah, this takes it a step further, not only just real food, but we are talking about aristocracy and aristocratic and elegant food.
Mr. Weston, we tested this against a general audience.
It tested the highest of anything we've done?
Yes.
I give up. Give up. This is Japan.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, work on the new store in Kameari nears completion. While this will be the only Western fast food store in the neighborhood, there are any number of Japanese competitors, sushi and noodle shops, bars serving snacks, and small family restaurants who are not at all happy about the Colonel moving in. Opening 50 stores a year takes big money, and whenever big money is involved, Loy is careful to report to Mitsubishi Trading Company, the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate which is half owner of Kentucky Fried Chicken Japan. 12 years ago, Mitsubishi moved into the chicken feed and chicken farm business and was looking to acquire a built-in consumer for their new product. Asked to locate the largest consumer of chicken broilers in the United States, their man in Chicago at the time, Toru Aizawa, came up with Kentucky Fried Chicken and brought a sample to Japan. Now a Mitsubishi director and chief operating officer of the foods division, Aizawa is responsible for Kentucky Fried Chicken.
The numbers crunchers have just informed me that it's possible we'll miss our top line next year by as much as $4 million US. Now, nobody's sure of it, but looks that way because we got to remodel a bunch of the stores.
So far, you and your company have made a good progress. I'm not concerned with small up and down.
Well, I'm relieved to hear you're not worried, Tom. But I must say I'm a little worried because it's been my experience that the Home Office gets very nervous about these little blips up or down.
And let them worry.
Yeah. In the words of the immortal Burt Lance, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, huh? I think the Japanese business executive has an advantage because he can plan longer time, for a longer period. He can explain to his bankers that he's going to have 18 down quarters while he's building market share, and there's a correlation between profitability and market share. But try that on the security analysts in the U.S., that you're going to have 4.5 years of down quarters, and he'll dump your stock tomorrow.
The new store in Kameari is now ready for business. If this were the United States, it would open at once. But here in Japan, the manager and his supervisor must first make a courtesy tour of the neighborhood with gifts of smoked chicken. They will introduce themselves to the other merchants on the block and solicit good wishes for the new venture. Out from the head office to help with this particularly Japanese brand of PR is the company's Director of General Affairs, Mr. Utsunomiya.
通常我々の店のですね、オープンの場合にはここにおりますスーパーバイザーあるいは店長で全部ですね取り仕切れるように手配はいたされておるんでございますが、この下町の方面、特に浅草あるいはこの亀有、非常に土地の人々の気持ち的なまた、ご縁類関係の深いところにつきましては、やはりそれなりに我々の方も気を配らなければいけませんので。
At every shop, the procedure is the same. Utsunomiya introduces the supervisor and the new store manager, presents the merchant with discount coupons for opening day, and requests his best wishes and support.
どうもこの度お隣へご厄介になりましたケンタッキーフライドチキンでございます。こちらにおりますのがスーパーバイザーの店長の山本でございます。今後ともよろしくどうぞ。
They visit everyone, including competitors like this butcher who serves hot snacks just down the block. For over 300 years, Japanese merchants opening a new business have performed this same public relations ritual. As company chairman, Loy is called on to do a lot of Japanese PR himself. In a few minutes, he'll deliver a welcome address to the delegates at a Kentucky Fried Chicken convention. The delegates include both owners and employees. The day of the convention, every Kentucky Fried Chicken store in Japan was closed.
皆様の努力は言うまでもありません。
取締役会長ロイ・ウェストンよりご挨拶を申し上げます。ウェストン会長、お願いいたします。
皆様、おはようございます。
本日ここに皆様方と第9回東京コンベンションでお会いできましたことを大変思って嬉しい思っています。
That night, the company hosts a party at an elegant garden restaurant called the Happoen. The guests are the 90 franchisees attending the convention. Each of these men owns at least one, and some as many as 10 Kentucky Fried Chicken stores. They pay a $10,000 licensing fee for each store, and 4% of their yearly gross in royalties. They pay an additional 4% into a joint advertising fund. The $9,000 this party will cost the company is a small investment in goodwill, considering the financial return.
Everything here is based on trust in business, not distrust. A handshake is much more important than the contract. Japanese won't do business with you unless he knows you, unless he trusts you, unless he admires you. If you sit down together and talk to each other and talk to people, have a glass of sake or two, tend to relax, and very often it's at the very end of a party where a deal can be struck, where you can reach out and shake hands on a deal and know that the business has been done. And so I end up going to a lot of geisha parties and drinking a lot of sake. And I know all the Japanese dances now, and I can sing the Japanese songs. Domo, domo, domo. Hey, how come you wear this parachute? A parachute. I thought for jumping out of airplane here. Sometimes it can be a little hard to explain on the expense account back home, and it's helpful if you have a fiberglass liver. Okay. Jesus Christ, you know, how is
The day before the new store opens, the staff prepares for a Shinto opening ceremony, a traditional Japanese christening. The extravagant flower wreaths are gifts from local merchants. The messages wish the new store good luck and advertise the sender at the same time. Inside, the Shinto priest prepares the altar. Sake. Auspicious rice cakes called mochi. Rice. Something from the rivers, something from the mountains, something from the sea. Dried squid. All prescribed by Shinto law. Outside, Mr. Utsunomiya and his staff prepare to welcome the guests. Most of them will be local merchants, but other businessmen who consider Kentucky Fried Chicken a prime client will also put in an appearance. The owner of the wax replica factory, for example, and the manufacturer of the Colonel Sanders statues show up at all opening ceremonies. The landlord from whom the company is renting this location is also here, as are several representatives of Mitsubishi. The priest uses a branch of the sakaki tree, considered sacred, to call the Shinto gods and goddesses into attendance. The prayer is derived from 7th century texts called Norito, adapted to the needs of the modern customer. The landlord, his wife, the new manager, the indefatigable Mr. Utsunomiya, and finally the traditional tape cutting, a convention borrowed from the West. At 11 o'clock the next morning, the new store opens for business. In a matter of minutes, the place is mobbed with housewives and their small children, anxious for a taste of fried chicken at special discount prices. Business is booming. At this rate, the sales target of approximately $3,000 a day doesn't seem unreasonable. But Kentucky Fried Chicken is not the only game in town. Just down the street, literally, Church's Texas Fried Chicken, a company out of San Antonio, Texas, is fighting for its own piece of the chicken market. Japan manager Joe Dunkel brims with confidence.
You asked me a little while ago if there was room for competition here in Japan in the fried chicken market, of which our competitor, Kentucky Fried Chicken, has had an exclusive on for the past 10 years. Well, if you just look around you here at the number of customers in this location, you can see that there is a lot of room for competition. I might mention it in the States, Church's Fried Chicken is licking the stuffing out of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I know we're going to be doing the same thing here in Japan.
Our people, every time a new store opens, competitor stores from even some Mickey Mouse operator, they get very excited, and they tell you, how can we beat them? How can we improve our quality and our service and our cleanliness and our product to just overwhelm them?
Also, our chickens are 2.5-pound chickens cut into 8 slices, opposed to a 9-cut, and I can just give you a little visual here on the difference between the pieces, the size of the pieces. We also, as I say, use a fresh chicken and we marinate it for 30 hours and we fry it in an open fryer, so we come up with a very crispy product, opposed to our competitor who pressure cooks his chicken and comes up with a soft, limpy product.
I'm a little bit sorry for our competition. I don't think they got a shot. I don't think they got a shot.
What does a company need to have a shot in Japan? If the Colonel is any indication, it has to have a powerful and sympathetic Japanese partner, take the long-range view, and adapt its marketing to the needs and expectations of the Japanese consumer. And if there's a lesson to be learned from Loy Weston's success, a little old-fashioned American irreverence can't hurt either.
This program was presented by WGBH-TV, which is solely responsible for its content.